Today, we are joined by Mr. Bob Thomas. Not only is Bob a veteran ultra athlete, winning many ultra running events, but also he has tackled the 4x4x48. But not just the normal 4x4x48. No, Bob thought it was a good idea to up the ante and perform 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 runs, taking 8 days. Bob, welcome to the Rockman Podcast. First question, why?
I thought, can I do it for a week? And that was just the plan of just let's see what happens. I was talking to my mate Jack about it, and Jack's the devil. And he very conveniently noticed that if I do another day, then if I added one more day, it would be 48 runs in total. So I was like, well, I have to now, don't I? Because it also makes sense. And I can name the video appropriately. So I did another day. And the caveat was that he had to come and run the last one with me. I think that was it.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
Damn straight. Bloody hell. You've done 8 days of running. He can do 1 4-miler with you. Right, Bob. Let's get on to our. I think it's 7 or 8. 7 or 8.
Yeah, I've got them down here.
Expert hints and tips on how to conquer the David Goggins 4x4x48. First up on the list, Bob, is planning and preparation. So, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially making decisions, because that's one of the hardest things, especially at 2 in the morning when you're going for your run. So, for me, the amount of decisions that you can make ahead of time, the better, because then all you have to do is do. It's that simple. So if you know what you're going to wear, what the route is going to be, what you're going to eat afterwards, that's 3 decisions that you don't have to make anymore. They're already made. So I would go into every run even before I started the challenge. I think when I did the shorter one, it was way easier because I didn't have to wash so much. I figured out basically I could essentially have like 4 bits of kit and just wear each of them for like 3 runs, and it was fine. Like they smell a bit, but it's totally fine. So and then you just change kit every 3 runs. The only thing that might mess you up there is if you get bad weather. So then you have to have sort of a plan B of what you're going to do if it absolutely tips it down and you can't dry your clothes in the time. But the more decisions you can make, the better. So when you're going to eat. So for me, I would eat after every single run. But it's not just when you're going to eat, it's what you're going to eat. Because if you come back from that run and you go, oh, I don't know what to eat. Let's go. I'll quickly go to Tesco and I'll have a look around. And you go to Tesco and then you have a look around and then you come back and then you cook your food and then you go, oh, an hour and a half's gone.
And you're wasting time, valuable recovery time.
Yeah, and the run took me 40 minutes. So that's 2 hours, 10 minutes. Oh, wait, I've got to run in an hour and 50 minutes. Suddenly it's like on the mind, like, oh, I've got to run again. And it's less than 2 hours. And that seems really close. Whereas if you do your run, you do it in 35 minutes and then you come back and what you're going to eat is there, ready to go. And you just eat it, smash it, jump in the shower if that's what you're doing. You can have that entire run done, wrapped up, out of your head and gone within 45 to 50 minutes, which means you've got over 3 hours left now to not worry about the next run. And that's the big thing for me. I think the more you can do, and things like laundry, like plan, like, are you going to wash your clothes? Like what You don't know. You might not be able to decide between mini eggs and a croissant. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
It is.
It
Both
is.
are great.
When I did mine, what I like to do is actually have my clothes set out ready, so that when it came to because I wanted to maximize the amount of time that I sat on that sofa watching Netflix and eating.
Yeah.
And it was when it was 5 minutes to go, the alarm went off, and I went and my clothes were set out. I just chucked them on, as you say, fresh pants, fresh socks. Because I'm doing it at home, I think I had enough t-shirts. I had a fresh t-shirt, used the shorts a few times, and off you go. And it takes it the sting out of everything. But what about planning the route? Because what I like to do is I like to mix my runs up, because just to keep it interesting. I think if you're going around the same loop all the time, it can make it better for yourself. Have an interesting route. But what you don't want to do is try and work out 4 miles while you're doing the run. You need to know that it's exactly 4 miles. Did you do anything like that?
Yeah. So I had quite a lot of routes because of where I lived. There was a lot of routes that I could sort of chain together, so I could do half of one and half of another and sort of things like that. So I ended up with loads of routes, but all I had to know was where I needed to turn. So if I knew that ahead of time, it was so much easier. Because the worst thing is when you get back and you're 0.2 of a mile short, and then you're running laps, just like a tiny bit of road, just staring at your watch, just killing your neck. It's like there's nothing worse than that. Even now, it doesn't matter what I run, but if I'm ever 0.2 of a mile short at that last 0.2, it's awful. So
you do that embarrassing lap.
Yeah, so I had like 4 routes, I think, that were just out and backs, 2 miles out, 2 miles back, which was fine. And then from knowing that, I could also then do like an out and back for 2 miles and then an out and back on another one for 2 miles. Do you know what I mean? I would call that a U loop, weirdly, but I don't know if anyone else uses that terminology.
Yeah, but you trademark that. That's a Bob
Thomas
original run, that is.
Yeah.
Going back to food, obviously you're going to be burning a lot of calories, like 600 to 700 calories per run. Did you have any sort of strategy to get the calories back in?
My only strategy for getting the calories back in was eat as quickly as you possibly could after the run, because you have more time to digest it. And then the other thing was to have something really small before each run, just to perk you up. So it's like 20 minutes before or something. And also, you're running loads, so eat what you want. If you want to just leave a bag of like Maltesers on the side, and before every run you eat 4 Maltesers, one for every mile, do it. Why not?
Yeah,
that sounds great. I wish I did that for every run.
Well, I was definitely having chockies and sweeties the whole 48 hours. That's what I saw it as. It's like I get to eat whatever I want for 48 hours. Don't worry about the running. Your next tip, though, Bob. Next tip is pace is irrelevant. So explain that to me.
Yeah. So my thought is that it doesn't matter how you just don't need to pace it. I don't think. Like with an ultra marathon, you need to pace it. Because if you went out as hard as you could for the first 4 miles, you would suffer massively. But with this challenge, I don't think you will as much. I definitely didn't. So I know that when I did it, my goal was to do every run under 7:30 per mile average, which I think works out at 28 minutes. So every run had to be under 28 minutes. So, which is fairly fast, not crazy.
Yes, it bloody is. Right. If people are listening to this, I would never get anywhere near. Don't listen to Bob. He wins ultra marathon races. 7:30 a mile is very fast. Like I can't even get to that. That's like my fast. If I do a mile for time, I get that. So right. Don't let him put you down now.
Okay. No, so right. Okay.
Sorry, I've thrown you off.
No, that's totally fine. That's just me thinking in my pace terms of sort of what I set for myself. But yeah, I think because you have enough time to recover, I don't think you have to pace it as much as you think. I think there's definitely a thing to be said for don't go out and set a 4-mile PD. But also,
Absolutely, yeah.
if running it 2 or 3 minutes quicker makes it less of a mental struggle, I would do that, because over time, if every run is 5 minutes quicker, in the first in the first 24 hours, you've cut off half an hour of running.
Yeah.
And if that makes it slightly easier mentally, I do believe that between each run, you've got enough time to recover that it won't be that bad again when you start running. And that's especially what I found. I found for me, it was easier to just go out, hit them hard, and just get them done. And it didn't feel like so much of a slog. I know when I did the first one, I started off quite slow, and I remember taking it really easy for the first 3 runs, I think. And I was taking about 40 minutes per run, which felt long, and it's also less time until the next run. And for me, mentally, it felt better just to go, right, actually, let's just kind of smash this out. I don't have to go crazy, but I don't have to be as conservative, because I can sort of get some really good food in and be recovered by the next run. And a lot of with that, because your body recovers quite well in that amount of time. A lot of people will do things like double sessions, where in their lunch they will do like a 5K maybe, and then they'll go and do a club run in the evening. And if you think about it, that is probably got about 4 hours in between. And your body does recover quite well, especially the main bulk of it. You won't get back to peak performance, but you might get 75 to 80% back, because that bottom 80% of recovery happens usually quite quickly. It's the top bit that takes ages. So in that time, you should be able to recover enough that you can just get out and go fairly hard again on the next 4 miles. And I think mentally, that's an easier way to get through it.
Yeah, I mean, people have got to remember as well, there's no time limit on this.
Yeah,
It's just you've got
yeah,
to do it. So
yeah,
you are quite within your rights to do any pace that you want. And I know that when I did it, that second day, that second 24 hours, the legs were starting to get very heavy. I remember the
yeah,
last 2 or 3 runs, it was barely picking my feet up. But that was just a fatigue setting in.
yeah,
It is an endurance event.
yeah,
You are doing 48 miles, I think, by the end of it. It's a
yeah,
lot of mileage
yeah.
to squeeze in.
And
But
that's why I labeled it as paces irrelevant, not
yeah,
run it as quick as you can. Because for me, it felt better to run it quicker. So the pace didn't matter. It just felt better. Just go quick, get it done, get it out of the way. Whereas for someone else, it might be better to take your time and go slow and maybe enjoy that 4 miles. And again, either way, the pace is kind of irrelevant. I think it's find what's right for you.
yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah,
don't worry if you think, oh, I'm running way quicker than I should, but actually I feel okay. Don't put too much pressure. Or actually, oh, I'm going a lot slower than I hoped I would. Again, that also doesn't matter. I think it's just one of those things that you've got enough time between these runs to sort of pick out a pace that suits you.
yeah. At the end of the day, it's a marathon, not a sprint, isn't it? Not literally, but
Yeah, and
you've
more.
got to think of the end goal. Think of the
Yeah,
end goal. If you're starting to fatigue after 3 runs, think, well, I've still got 9 runs to go. I better take the foot off the gas a bit.
yeah.
Tip number 3, Bob: set alarms. So, what did you mean by that?
Because if you set an alarm for everything that's going to happen, then you don't have to think about it. The first one that I did, I remember just worrying all the time, just constantly checking my watch. Like, oh, it's an hour to run. Oh, I got 50 minutes till I run. Oh, I got 45 minutes till I run. And it was exhausting. It just was overwhelming. Whereas if you set 3 alarms, one for 1/4 to, one for 10 to, and one for 5 to, you shouldn't really miss it. And that was my thing. So I just set alarms for absolutely everything. So every run had 3 alarms before it. And it was just a way of helping myself switch off. So as soon as I was done with the run, come back, eaten, showered, whatever, I could just go and get on with my day and just know that I'm going to get a nice 15-minute warning. And all I have to do is go and get changed and go for it. And then
Yeah, I
this
think that's
becomes
it.
even
Go
more,
on.
yeah, it becomes even more fun when you're sleeping, because then the game I was playing with myself is how late can I set the alarm and still get out the door in time?
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is a rule, and I've spoken to a few people about this, and I think it's a little bit of debate. But do you think you have to start the run bang on the hour?
I would say this is my own personal opinion. I say you've got to run 4 miles in that 4 hour period. I think if you if you started half an hour late, that's fine in my eyes. But you're only punishing yourself because now you've lost half an hour of rest until the next one. That's how I see it.
Yeah, but you've also gained half an hour from the last one.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to be late for a run. You don't, because as I say, you are punishing yourself. I suppose in a way you are getting a bit of extra rest, but you're punishing yourself for the next one. It's all going to catch
Yeah,
up.
it's
The
yeah.
worst thing you can do is completely miss a run. And I think if you missed a run, and I suppose if you're starting an hour late, I think you got to draw a line under it. I think you've missed that run. I think that there is a limit to
It's
sort of
hard,
how
yeah.
late you can get out the door.
So my rule when I did it was I had to begin the run before it ticked to the next minute.
Yeah.
But that I don't know. The rule on that is really unclear. So if you've got Goggins mobile, I'd phone him.
Yeah, well, the answer is in the tip, isn't it? Set bloody alarms.
Yeah,
Because this rule
yeah,
is so grey, you don't want
yeah,
to be saying to people, "Oh, yeah, I started late. I was at half an hour late," because they'll be like, "Well, you didn't do it then," and you're like,
yeah,
"Well, I bloody did do it," and
yeah.
well, you didn't. Cut all this grey area out. Set your bloody alarms and get out the door on time.
Yeah,
Like this.
I
Do
think so.
you remember how scared you were in the nights? I was scared because I was like, because you're going to sleep and you're like, I can't miss this
Yeah,
run. I
yeah,
can't
I'm
sleep
not
through this
waking up.
alarm. There is
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fear.
yeah.
Yeah, there is
I
a
know, yeah.
fear.
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? And yeah, that's the thing. And I think generally, I think if you start it within 10 minutes of the hour, I think that's pretty acceptable.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
not so convinced on the half an hour, but I'd say 10 minutes is probably fine. But yeah, it was that thing of like when you go to sleep, you're thinking, I really hope I wake up.
Yeah, because you're knackered.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
exhausted.
Yeah, you
You
don't
know.
want to get up and birds are singing, and you think, "Oh, what a lovely oh, what have I done?"
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Right, Bob. Tip number 4. You put treat yourself.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite one. So
That's the best bit, isn't it? That's the
yeah,
best bit.
it goes back to that like Maltesers on the side thing. So like just make little things a little bit easier. Of if you when you're planning your meals for what you're going to eat, plan your favorite meals, because why not? Like, and especially if you're going to cook them ahead of time. Like, if it's something that you really want and really like, go for it. Because over that 48 hours, it's probably going to do you a lot of good if you sit down and you go, "Oh, I got steak tonight. That's class," and you're going to be way happier rather than going, I got rice and chicken again."
Oh,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Do you know
yeah,
what I got to do? Because you never get this opportunity. I got to polish off a whole tub of Ben and Jerry's fish food because, like, you can't eat a whole tub
yeah.
of that on your own in a usual night. Although sometimes I have done in the past. But this was
Okay,
a
well, that's
cracking
not a rule.
excuse.
Do that also.
Yeah, it was guilt free. It was
Yeah,
guilt free. I cleaned that sucker out. You know,
yeah.
I licked the lid of life, as they
Oh,
say.
yeah, good.
Um,
So,
yeah, it's good.
for example, my favorite chocolate bar is a 12, which is really important information. But basically, I would make sure before I did it, I went and bought a big box of 12, and then after every night run, my reward was as soon as I got back, I used to sit in bed and eat a 12. Like, go to
Absolutely,
sleep. It's
absolutely.
yeah, which if you isolated that would be a very depressing scene. But in that moment, it was great.
What did you plan anything for post event? Because I had my eyes on an all I could eat Dominoes. I was like, right, when I finish this run, so this was what I had my eyes fixed on. It's like if I get through this,
Yeah.
I get to have whatever I want from Domino's. It was a large pizza. It was all the sides. It was the chicken kickers. I love those chicken kickers. It was the wedges, everything. Did you
That's great.
set yourself up with anything to reward yourself for finishing?
No, no, it didn't. I know. Funny enough, I know what I did do after the first one I did is I
You had a
punished myself.
twirl.
No,
Oh,
I
you
didn't.
punished yourself.
I punished myself by trying to set a half marathon PB.
What's wrong with you?
That was because I didn't set an alarm, and the next day I was meant to do a group run, and I forgot to set an alarm, and I slept through it.
You
So
did.
after my tips of alarms, I got through the 3 days of doing it, and with all of this set up, and I was like, right, that's it. And then tomorrow I'm going for this group run. It'd be great. I haven't run with anyone in ages, and I missed it. So then I punished myself. But that's another story. No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't have anything planned for after it.
Well, that would be my tip. That would be my top tip.
That's a good tip. Yeah, especially
Whether your tipple is
adds to
like
treat
get a
yourself.
big curry in, big curry, big Chinese, whatever takeaway you want, like Five Guys, book it in, guilt free, and enjoy every single bite, and go mad as well. As I said, like you want mains and all the sides and the chocolate milkshakes and everything. You know, it really does give you some sort of motivation to just keep going and get, because you're not getting it unless you finish it.
No, yeah, that is true. Yeah, and you have to hold yourself to that. If you don't finish it, you don't get it. But I think it's good to have those little bits along the way, and just setting up of just what's your favorite breakfast. Make sure you have that every day, because it's just easier. It's just easier when all the other little things around it are pre-planned, so you know what's coming, and you can also look forward to them. When you do that 2 a.m. run, and then or 4 a.m. depending on what hours you do, and then you go, oh, do you know what? When I wake up, I've got whatever it is waiting for me, and I'm so excited, and that's just enough to get you through.
I think that's it, because also
first run.
Yeah, well, I think also during these moments of sort of endurance, you do take things back to basics. You're not worried about the sort of the peripheral goings on of the world. All you care about is food, water, and rest, and clean pants and socks. Like that is all you want. And so you can really get a lot of joy. It could just be as simple as a biscuit, but you get a lot of joy from that, chocolate digestive, because in that moment, that is your world,
Yeah, I know. Imagine if there's just a packet of hobnobs just sat by the door every time you come in. That's another run ticked off.
Exactly. I'm getting hungry now, anyway. Tip number 5, Bob. We've got social support.
Yes, we do. So social support for me is a weird one, because I think I often do a lot of these things on my own, and then the only time I shared it with my mate, he made me run for an extra day. But
that's not support.
But definitely it is one of those things that can just pick you up. If you've got someone that you're doing it with that you know that you can't let down, that's awesome, especially for the early morning ones. If you can just go like, right, let's meet here at 2 a.m. and we're going to run 4 miles, and you're going to do it together, and you just hold each other accountable. I think that's really good. And even if you're not doing it with someone and you've just got people around you, that's great too. Just someone, and they can help with the preparation of things. If you've got someone handing you your hobnobs, like that's pretty good too, isn't it? And just I think that is a massive aspect. I think you do always have to deal with the fact that you're the person who's got to get up and go and do every run, and that's not going to change. But if you've got someone in your corner who just goes, go on, do it. You set yourself this challenge, you're going to smash it, go for it, just get it done. That does help, because then you'll just leave for that run and you'll be like, yeah, okay, cool, I've got this.
Yeah, it's that accountability they give you as well. It's not just the support, it's the accountability to get out.
Yeah.
What I liked as well is I don't think anyone joined me on the runs, but I was documenting it online on my social medias. So after each run, I was posting my Strava results. I was doing little photos before I went out, with what clothes and stuff I was doing and what I was eating. But by putting it out there, I was able to get sort of interaction, engagement of friends and family. And I was getting that support through the magic of the internet as well. So, if we don't have people around you, join some sort of online community. There's plenty of groups that pop up during the day. where they're doing it together as well, don't they? And don't forget, you've got the Team Rockman group if you want to get involved with that one as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's all very valuable. I think having that social network of support around you, it gives you that extra boost that is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and social media is really good for that. And that's why it's really good to do it when everyone does it in March, because so many people are posting about it and you can talk to each other, and maybe something's not quite right and you're going, oh, do you know what? I'm finding this really hard. And you can just message someone, just be like, I'm finding this really hard. And they go, oh yeah, I did too, but I tried this. And then maybe that works.
You're exactly right, because every year we try to put a team together to do it, a Team Rockman as well, and we always try to do it at the same weekend as the David Goggins as well. Yeah. And I remember there was one guy who couldn't do it on the weekend we were doing, and like everyone was there, he saw everyone and how great it was on that weekend, and he had to do his the weekend after when no one was doing it, and I felt so bad for him. He's just on his Todd. It does help, like it does help having those people around you.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Tip number 6, you've got sleep, exclamation mark.
Yeah, because it really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it? Sleep actually makes you perform better. Yeah, so sleep is really difficult because you have to do it in tiny chunks. And I think what you find is that you will struggle to switch off, and then you'll also struggle to switch on. So it's figuring out how you can best achieve that. So whatever it is that helps you. So I found, so I know, so through research that there's things like if you have a hot shower before bed, when you leave the hot shower, your body essentially dumps heat and cools you down, and that helps you fall asleep. So for me, what I've figured out is essentially if I left my shower, because I didn't shower after every run. Now that might be controversial, but
very controversial. That's for another video. That's for another video.
But so what I did is, because I didn't want to just constantly be showering all the time and racking up the water bill, I decided that I was only going to shower on runs I was going to sleep after, because having a super hot shower and then getting out and then going straight to bed would help me sleep. So that was like a little trick that I tried to do. And then I also tried to change the way I eat slightly so that I wasn't eating too much on the runs where I would get back and then immediately go to sleep. I wanted to have something that was quite high in calories, but not so dense. So that would be where the chocolate bars would come in, because they're not very big, but they're absolutely chock full of calories. That was an accidental pun. Yeah, so that was really useful, just to try and tweak a couple of things to help me get to sleep. And then the other thing we spoke about, which was definitely better on the second time I did it because I knew I would wake up, but is the fear of missing the run. That's really hard. So this is where I just think having some sort of nuclear alarm that goes off that wakes everyone up.
Some atomic blast next to your head.
Yeah. That is really useful, because then it's guaranteed to wake you up. So when you go to sleep, you're just like, well, I'm waking up 3 doors down. So, and that comes into social support as well, because they could come out and cheer you on whilst you're running.
If that would don't wake you up, the police at your door will.
Yeah.
One thing, perhaps, if people are worried about, oh God, you've got to get out and do a run at 2 a.m. How am I going to sleep when I get back? I was surprised how quickly I did fall asleep, actually. Yeah. Like you, I had a shower, went to bed, it's in the middle of the night. I was surprised at how quickly I did just drift off and go to sleep. I suppose you're knackered.
Yeah, I think so. I think you do get wired, but I think if you have, again, I think it comes down to one of those things of having it planned what you're going to do, because the act of running doesn't really set your mind racing. It's quite monotonous, really. So you don't really have to think too much. So I think the less you have to think about when you wake up in that section, the better, because you don't activate your brain as much. And then the other thing is things like, if you think about light exposure and things like that, and just how your body naturally works. So you essentially, your body is better at waking up when there's more light. It's just how your circadian rhythm works. So when you run at night, keep your head torch on low. Try to avoid streetlights. And I know it's like silly, but make sure you're safe and can see. But still try and minimize light, because the less you do, and other things like when I say set alarms, set all of your alarms for all of the runs. Don't come back and then go, right, now I've got to set my alarm for the next run at 2 o'clock in the morning, because as soon as you go on your phone, you'll open Strava and then you'll look through Instagram. And then if you're doing that at 2:30 in the morning after just run, then you will be awake. So if you know, all you have to do is get up, put your clothes on, start your watch, run, come back, eat your chocolate bar, get into the shower and get into bed. Nothing else happens. It's just all focus on just get that done, get back to sleep. That's better, because the more little things that you can do in between of oh, what should I eat when I get back, or oh, should I quickly put the clothes in the wash, or oh yeah, oh, okay, all right, I've had a shower, oh, should I just check Strava just to make sure that it logged properly? All these things, and oh, no, set my alarm, they just fire your brain more, and then when you go to sleep, it's harder. So the less you can interact with, the better.
Yeah, just crack on.
Yeah.
Final tip, Bob. I've put down, just bloody enjoy it. I think don't stress yourself. It consider it's one of the biggest endurance challenges that people will undertake in their lives, probably. It is simple. It's 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Don't stress. Just crack on and just do your best to enjoy it. That's what I've put down. Would you agree?
I would say yes, and I would say experience it. I would say,
oh, I like that. A subtle nuance.
Yeah, I changed it. So I say don't pressure yourself to enjoy it. Enjoy the moments you do, and experience everything else that comes with it, because that's interesting. That's really interesting. And also it's really good, because if you do have a low moment, sit in it and see what happens, because it's not a problem. The world's not going to end. You might just be a little bit unhappy that you're running around the local neighborhood at 2 in the morning thinking you're an idiot. And there will be experiences. Like, one for me was unbelievable fear when one of my runs, I ran around a corner into a guy with this massive coat, hood up, just walking with his hands in his pocket, and he was like 6'4", and I nearly ran into him, and I absolutely shit myself. I was so scared. I was like, what is going on? It was by a graveyard as well. It was probably one of the most seconds of my life.
Did he have a big scythe?
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought was going to happen. And then he just went, all right, mate, what are you doing? I was like, yeah, good. I'm just running.
Just running.
Yeah, but it's an experience, isn't it? One of them, I went out, and the local farm, all the cows had got out of the field and were in the village. So I ran around counting how many cows were in the village, and that was on the 6 a.m. run. So, but just experience it. I think enjoying it is amazing, and there will be parts you enjoy, but don't worry about the parts that you don't enjoy. Just experience them and see what happens, because it's a new experience, and I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think almost with every run, it's a new experience as well. It's like if you had a bad run, well, you've got a chance to rectify that in 4 hours time as well. But some of my favorite runs on that challenge were the nighttime runs. I loved the it was just a nice feeling to know I'm out on a run at 2 a.m. Everybody is in bed. Everybody is asleep in bed. I am the only person up in Penarth right now doing a run. And you see some sights as well. I remember there's a car park near me. I remember going past it, and I saw a car with a bunch of teenagers in there as well at 2 a.m. And I was like, what are they doing? I think it was it must have been one of their birthdays, because they were all blowing balloons up in the back of the car.
Right,
But you get to see these sights, and some of them, so people might dread those night runs, but actually, as you say, experience it. So those night runs were my favorite actually throughout the whole challenge.
And the thing is, if you do it at the same time as everyone else, and you're worried about running into people, don't worry, they're just another idiot like you running at 2 a.m.
It's just another nutter. It's just another nutter.
My favorite thing about the 2 a.m. runs is when a car went past, and just thinking, I wonder what they're thinking. Just looking at me.
Well, they definitely are. What the hell is this nutter doing?
What's going on? Yeah. That was one of my favorite things, just thinking, what must they be thinking for the next 5 miles of their journey?
So, Bob, that's it. That's our top tips. Anything to summarize on that? How would you sum it up if you're going to leave the listeners with one final thought now? How would you sum it up?
I think my main focus is just experience it, see what happens. Just go with whatever feelings are there, whatever happens. Just sit in it, and yeah. I mean, I guess enjoy it is right, because enjoy the good times and the bad times for what they are, because it's just a challenge. It's just 48 hours of your life, and like you'll have another 48 hours, so spend them differently if you didn't like it. I think it's a great challenge, and once you've done it, you can say you've done it. So
and never do it again. I threatened I'd never do it again. Yeah, I threatened I'd never do it again. I think I did mine 3 years ago. I'm doing it again this March. Like it's coming around. It's taken me that long to recover mentally, but I'm ready to tackle it on now.
Good.
Thank you very much for your time, Bob. I will bid you adieu, and we will catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye. Hello again, and thank you for listening to the Rockman Podcast episode. If you enjoyed that, you can click the link here to access all the episodes from the Rockman Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe.